Thank you very much. I guess I was not planning to intervene, but I think that if it can be helpful to you, I'm very happy to do so and then to continue to send you more information. There's some challenges. On the one hand, and I'm going to be a bit blunt, you policymakers think very linearly. And you look at the policy and say, okay, we got to design it, then we got to, first look at what we need to solve. Then we design this policy, then we implement it, and then things happen, and then we go back and evaluate it, and that's it. And this is the old-fashioned way to look at policy implementation. And this is what needs to change. No, policy making is no longer as linear as it used to be, because there's so many more stakeholders involved, because the world has changed, because we no longer trust policymakers actually, because teachers and school leaders are much more professionals than they used to be considered. And I think COVID has even put them in a better position. And so the world of policymaking has changed, and you need to change with it, actually. And so it's quite important, because now many systems are a bit lost as to how to make this change happen. And it's very difficult, because you have to let go of the old ways and trust that schools are able to do the change themselves. And that's one of the bigger changes that you have to, I think Wales just said it, change the perspective of what the policy will mean in schools. What are the schools' needs, and start from that. And I think that's at the heart. You cannot think of a policy strategy from your office. You have to always, from the beginning, put yourself in what would a school receive and how would they make sense of this at the school level. So that's the bigger change. And from what we've seen, so I'm going to share with you the toolkit, or the framework that some of you already know. We actually have just revised it. So it is a way of thinking about implementation. And on the right, you can see that we can also give you an Excel toolkit to gauge yourself in how you are ready for change. And so what we've seen in many education systems is that, you need to have a clear vision, and that is often missing. There is a vision, but it's very woolly. It's not clear. It doesn't have clear objectives. It doesn't have indicators to understand where you're moving towards. Documents need to be clear, have simple objectives that everybody can understand and therefore implement. And then you need to have it well resourced, so you can see the vision. You have to have the right policies in place, the resources, but you can no longer think about policy by itself without implementation. So you need to think about implementation from the beginning. And that means, so think about the policy design, engage stakeholders from the beginning. And what we found is that often all these policies have a very unclear definition of roles and responsibilities of who needs to be doing what and when. It's often very unclear. So people don't know, well, what am I supposed to do? If I'm a principal, what do I do? If I'm a teacher, if I'm a local level education policymaker, and that's often missing. And the third area is the context, to always work around the context, and that is capacity is at the heart, and policy alignment. So you change your curriculum and you don't change your student tests, the policy will not work. So what are all these factors that really can help the policy make it or break it? And it's quite important. So all these questions, when you're designing the policy, you need to think about them from the beginning, from an implementation perspective, in terms of, we've phrased it in this way, and we're developing now a toolkit as well that we can send to you. It's now in revision at the OECD, but I can share it with you informally or as soon as it's published. But I think putting all of this together into one conceptualization can help you think about, if you want to go to make sure that schools are ready to make the change that they need to make, or that they want to make, actually, because unless you make a strategy that they want to make, they won't make the change. So always keeping schools at the heart and making sure that things are actually actionable, and that's at the heart. So it's really boring, actually, because it's all in the details. It's all these factors. Okay, how will it be done? Who will do it? When will it be done? How will you measure progress with it? And it takes time and it takes effort, but in the end, it will achieve success if you invest in it.